Once upon a time, there was a father who constantly carried a heavy worry in his heart about his son. The boy had once been a well-behaved child full of potential, but he gradually fell into a path of bad habits. He became lazy, often woke up late, neglected his studies, and instead spent his time wandering around with friends who cared little about their future. Assignments were left unfinished, promises were broken, and excuses became his everyday response instead of effort. What hurt the father most was that his son had started to lie, lying about his grades, his studies, and even about how he truly felt. Worse still, whenever he faced even the smallest challenge, the boy would simply shake his head and say, "I can't do it." His confidence faded, his belief in himself grew faint, and he started to think that he wasn't capable of achieving anything. To the father, this wasn't just disappointment. It was the fear of losing his son to himself forever. Watching his son decline day by day, the boy's parents could no longer sit still. They spoke to him gently, time and again, using words of love to show him that the path he was on could lead only to failure and regret. Sometimes they were patient, sometimes they were firm. They told him stories, reminded him of the dreams he once had, trying to awaken the part of his heart that still remembered hope. But all their efforts seemed to vanish into silence. The boy listened, but didn't truly absorb. Deep inside, a small part of him still held on to hope and the desire to change. At times, he tried setting an alarm to wake up early. Once in a while, he sat at his desk, attempting to complete the assignments he had once abandoned. But after a few days, everything fell back into the old patterns. A little difficulty would make him give up. A single invitation from his friends was enough to derail his resolve. With every failed attempt, he believed even more that he could never improve. Even the smallest change now felt like a distant dream. His parents, though still quietly hopeful, began to feel helpless, unsure of how to rescue their son from the cycle of bad habits and the despair surrounding him. After many sleepless nights, the father decided to seek out a wise old man who lived in seclusion deep within the forest. A man whom villagers deeply respected for his wisdom and ability to help people find their way. He brought his son along, hoping that a spark from this wise man might light up the fading soul of his child. At first, the boy was indifferent. Inside him was reluctance, confusion, and a hint of irritation. But looking into his father's earnest eyes, he couldn't bring himself to say no. And so, one early morning, they followed a narrow dirt path through the quiet woods until they came upon a modest wooden hut, nestled peacefully under a canopy of green leaves. On the porch, an elderly man with white hair and beard was carefully repairing the roof using old tools. As the boy stepped forward, bowed politely, and shared the struggles he was facing, the old man simply nodded without saying a word. Instead, he picked up a small hammer, walked to a loose wooden peg in the ground, and gave it a gentle tap. The next day, when the boy returned and again asked how to change himself, the old man remained silent. He simply repeated the same action, another light tap on the same wooden peg. This continued for 7 days straight, without a single word being spoken, leaving the boy both curious and confused. He couldn't understand what he was supposed to be learning from this strange silence. By the 8th day, the boy could no longer hold back. For a week, he had come respectfully each day, asking questions and hoping for guidance. But all he received were soft taps from a hammer and the old man's quiet nods. He felt ignored, felt that his time, which could have been used to fix his life, was being wasted. "I came here to learn how to change myself," he said, voice filled with frustration. "But in all this time, you haven't taught me anything. Were you even listening to me?" At that moment, the old man finally looked him in the eye, his gaze warm and deep. "I've been listening all along," he said gently. Then he pointed at the wooden peg, now firmly embedded in the ground. "When you first came, this peg was loose. One tap didn't do much. But I struck it every day. Not too hard, not too fast, just steadily. Today it's firmly in place. It won't come out easily anymore." He paused, then continued, "Your mind is just like that peg. Right now, it's fragile, full of doubts and bad habits. But if you train it with patience, just one small thing each day, like waking up early, keeping your promises to yourself, or simply reminding yourself that you matter, then slowly, you'll become strong. Not in a day, but little by little, just like the taps of this hammer." Change has never been something that happens overnight. It doesn't come from sudden bursts of inspiration, but from small, repeated efforts each day. A single positive reminder in the morning. One decision to resist procrastination. One time getting back up after failing. No matter how slow your progress, every positive action you take, no matter how small, holds value. They're like the hammer's strikes on the peg. At first, nothing seems different, but over time, they make a lasting impact. What truly matters is not how fast you go, but whether you have the perseverance to keep going. For it is persistence and patience that will carry you across the bridge from old habits and deeply rooted negativity to something new and better. And then, bit by bit, you will become the better version of yourself, the one you once didn't dare to believe you could become.